Welcome everybody to this episode of the X Connect podcast. Today I'm here with Peter Sontag, an amazing entrepreneur and really a testament to how you can build your way up from zero to accomplishing all your goals. And Peter, it's great to have you on the show today.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. And Thank you for taking the time. Thank you.
Of course. So Peter, you grew up in Vienna in Austria.
Yes.
Right? And you lived there until you were 17, right?
Correct.
So when you were 17, you were training at a luxury hotel.
Yes.
And then you famously kind of met an American couple, and that resulted in you going to the United States and staying there.
Right.
What was that conversation like? What happened there?
Well, what happened is one of the key elements of success I learned later is circumspection. I noticed things. So this gentleman was in the lobby of the hotel with a cigarette, and the ashes were about this long. I took an ashtray and I did like a baseball catcher, a dive to catch the ashes before they hit the carpet. And he said, wow. And the gentleman then asked me, I'd like to see Vienna in a sightseeing tour. And I said, concierge, bus. And he said, no, I don't want to sit on a bus with a bunch of hat flowers. I'm going, hat flower? What's a hat flower? In those days, the ladies had these big hats with the flowers on them. So he said, I want a private tour. And I said, how much would you pay for such a service? He said, $20. I'm a tour guide. Because in those days, I was making 300 shillings a month, which translated was $12 a month. So it was a wonderful opportunity. So I took the gentleman around Vienna and showed him various sites, and he was quite impressed. And then I called my mother. I said, I got these crazy American paying me a month's wages. Why don't you cook a nice dinner? And my mother played the accordion, sing a couple Austrian songs, and so on. So I took him home. We had dinner. Then I took him back to the hotel. And he said this was one of the most amazing, enjoyable experiences he's had in Europe. And he said to me, you're the kind of person that would do well in the U.S. Oh, thank you very much. Goodbye. And I had a stack of calling cards this high. And next time you're in Dallas, Texas, let's have lunch, whatever. So bottom line is then a couple months later, I get this letter from America. And the letter basically stated, we'd like you to come visit for summer. And in it was a voucher for an airline ticket from Vienna, Austria to the United States. And I went home to my mother that night and I said, I'm out of here. So I basically went down and got a ticket from Vienna to New York. The total flight time was 21 hours, then flew from there to Pittsburgh because the family that invited me lived in Steubenville, Ohio, which is 40 miles west of Pittsburgh.
So Peter, in that situation, you're working at this nice hotel, you have a good job. Is it that same instinct that you had as an entrepreneur to take risks and not always go the conventional route that you think served you well later on?
Yes, it did. There's a certain element of adventure. And in those days, everything from America was always wow. A simple thing like a nail clipper or all these things that came from America. The Americans also saved my life when I was 8 years old. I contracted viral meningitis, which is deadly. And I remember the doctor standing next to my crib and saying to my mother, I'm sorry to say, but he's going to die. But we have this new medicine from America. And she says, well, if he's dying, give it to him anyways. And they gave me this shot, and my fever was gone in a couple, 3 days, and I survived. It was penicillin.
Wow.
So it saved my life. There's a famous author in Germany by the name of Karl May, and he wrote a total of over 80 books in his lifetime. about half of them about the American West. And he created all these characters, the Apache chiefs and the Sioux and so on. So by the time the average German kid is 12, 14, they knew more about the American West than the average American. So America was always a fascinating place, and when I had the opportunity, I said, I'm going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you're 8 years old and you hear the doctor saying he's probably gonna die, did that take away like a certain sense of comfort that maybe other people have, just like enjoying life, going through the steps? Did that create a sense of, hey, like any day could be my last day, so let me just get it done?
Very good question. My reaction was, he talked to my mother, and I guess I wasn't supposed to hear that. So my reaction was, I'm not ready to do this. I'm not ready to die. So, when he said we have this new medicine from America, and I'm going, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Okay, so you come to America.
Yes.
And how much did you have in your pocket?
I had $14 in my pocket.
You had $14.
And remember, I come from a country, they speak German. So I did have 4 years of English in middle school, but there was no conversational ability and so on.
Yeah, so you come to America with $14. You're by yourself, right? You didn't come with your parents. It's a new language, and you go into the steel mills to work for 4 years, right? While supporting yourself and putting yourself through college.
Correct.
All of that. What was that like for you?
I was very fortunate. I entered Steubenville High School as a junior, and finished after 2 years with my degree from Steubenville High School. And it was an amazing experience for someone from another country. The culture, the whole ambiance of a high school in the U.S. After I went back to Austria, and because I was drafted in the Austrian military. So I spent a year in the Austrian military in the Air Force. And then after that, I worked in Vienna at a new hotel they just built, the Intercontinental, and met a lot of Americans. One of the customers had a friend with him, and well, we talked. And the gentleman said, I'm opening a new hotel in a town called Elkhart, Indiana. And it's a new concept. It's called a motel, where you drive and you can park your car right where you stay and all that. And he needs a manager. So then in 1964, I got a letter. And in those days, if you had a job offer from the US, you could go to the embassy and you could actually get an immigration visa, because you would not be a burden to the American citizen. You had a job offer. And so then again, I sold all my worldly possessions. I bought a ticket and went back briefly to Steubenville, Ohio, and then went to Elkhart, Indiana, and worked for that company. Yeah.
So you were there, and then?
Well, what happened then is, that was 1965, and I got this very nice letter from the American government that started with greetings. And I got drafted in the U.S. military. And in those days, with an immigration visa, you had the same obligations as an American citizen. Not the same rights, quite interesting. But anyway, I was drafted in the U.S. military. And then their levy that year was filled. And so they said, well, come back next year. So I went back next year, and they looked and said, oh, you're too old. So I was like 26 or whatever, so they didn't want me. I said, I'd love to go. I got experience. I've been in the military. I know all that. So they didn't want me. So anyway. And then I enrolled in college. I had an opportunity to work in a steel mill near Steubenville, Ohio, in Weirton, West Virginia. And after 5 years in the steel mill, very dangerous work, I graduated magna cum laude at the undergraduate school in West Virginia. Now it's called West Liberty University. And then I had opportunities to either go to University of Chicago, to Columbia University, and Johns Hopkins. And I chose Columbia. Yeah. They offered me also a scholarship, and then I spent 2 years at Columbia University as an international student, because I had not become a U.S. citizen yet. And graduated, and then in the spring of 1971, all these recruiters come on the campus, and I was being recruited by a company called ITT. Yeah.
So after coming to the United States by yourself, having to learn a new language, working in the steel mills, putting yourself through college and all that, you finally got to an Ivy League business school at Columbia. Was that just a game changer for you, or how did that really just open up?
That's an excellent question, Craig. Yes, it very much was a game changer, because it was a totally different niveau, a totally different level of interaction. The people in my undergraduate school in the steel mill, they were, basic blue-collar Americans. Columbia University was a very sophisticated environment where my fellow students' fathers, they were either very wealthy entrepreneurs, like one of them was the son of the largest grocery chain in Austria. Another one was the son of a company that produced the drill bits for oil drilling, et cetera, et cetera. So I was kind of the novice there on the block. And it was very much a game changer, also because of the contacts you made.
Wow. Yeah, so it really just elevated the playing field for
Yeah, it very
all
much did.
business.
Yeah, and so after graduation, I had an offer at IT&T. And IT&T mesmerized me because it was a job working internationally.
Okay. So just to fast forward a little bit.
Yes. Sure.
In your whole career, you've merged, sold, or created over 80 companies in total, right?
Yes. What happened is, after 3 years at ITT traveling, I realized that the travel business has several fundamental flaws. And that was the era of deregulation. I saw an opportunity there, and I started a company called Sontag and Associates, a preeminent consulting firm, and we were hired by IBM and AT&T and many major corporations to revamp their travel purchasing. One of the biggest companies in the country spent $46 million a year on domestic air travel, and they bought it from 124 different travel agencies. So anything you buy from 124 suppliers, you don't get the best deal, and you certainly have very little control, right? So my business was to work for large corporations as a consultant to help them consolidate their travel purchasing and make and create tremendous efficiencies. One of my clients was DuPont, one was Exxon, one was AT&T, and so on. And then I said, I've watched all these travel companies out there. There's a better way to do that. So I wrote a business plan, and I was able to raise $124 million from a company that just sold their business on the West Coast.
Yeah, so in 1992, $124 million you raised.
I raised, yeah. I wrote a business plan, and I was able to raise it. Yeah.
Wow.
And
And these are through investors, or?
Those were investors, yeah.
Yeah.
They had invested in a whole bunch of, they just sold their primary business and had all this cash lying around, and I knew the president, and so their other investments did not materialize positively. I was the only company that made a profit for them.
Yeah. So then you were able to scale USTravel, right?
Then I didn't want to sell USTravel, but my investors needed the cash.
Yeah.
And they decided to divest my company, and since they owned 85% of it, and they did, and I had a nice exit, and my partners had a nice exit, and so then I decided, well, what am I going to do now? And I was approached by my late brother-in-law, who drove a Porsche. And he said he would love to see where the cars are made. So I created a trip, and I called up Germany, the Porsche company, and they said, yeah, we'd love to have some Americans come over. We used to have a lot of Americans come over, and then the whole thing stopped. So I flew to Germany, knocked on the door, and a Frau Mall received me and said, come on in, and took me into the office of Ferry Porsche. So I met the son of the founder of the company.
Yeah.
And I told him what I want to do, and he was thrilled that we start again the pattern of bringing Americans to the Porsche company.
Yeah.
So that's when I started a company called Fastlane Travel.
Yeah. So I want to talk about Fastlane Travel.
Yes.
But I have to ask. So you scaled 80 companies, and then you scaled USTravel from 0 to 2.4 billion in sales.
Correct.
Over 5 years.
Yes.
Right? I mean, you can have a great business model, you can have a great idea, but what was your secret to all that success?
Well, number one, the company before that was Sontag and Associates, where I was a consultant to several of the major corporations, and I also met tons of travel agencies in the process. So I felt by consolidating the travel industry, it would be beneficial. So that's the reason why I basically had the idea of creating a large travel distribution company.
Okay. And then what you were just talking about, you helped translate with Ferry Porsche.
Right. So after USTravel, I then again met Ferry Porsche, and we
and the son of the founder of Porsche.
Ferdinand Porsche. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he also had two sons, but his son Wolfgang Porsche and I later on became good friends. That's a separate story. And Wolfgang is still the chairman of the company today. But anyway, Ferry Porsche thought it was fantastic to bring more Americans back. Mm-hmm. And then I said, well, fine, I can do that. I'll start a company with approaching different Porsche enthusiasts, and it took off.
So the reason you started Fastlane Travel, your company about having Porsche tours all in Europe, that started because the son of Ferdinand Porsche told you this would be a great idea.
It will be, and he mentioned we used to have them, then they stopped. And let's revitalize this program. He took me into one of the executive meetings at Porsche, where the VP of marketing was there, the VP of manufacturing, and so on, and they all loved the idea.
Wow! So they were backing you. Porsche themselves were backing.
Oh, very much, yeah.
Wow. So I would originally ask how much of Fastlane Travel dates back to that relationship with Ferry Porsche, but it sounds like all of it.
I would say the kickoff, definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then earlier you also talked about how an American came to Vienna, you showed him around, you had your mom cook him a nice meal,
right? Mm-hmm.
Right? It was a great custom, and you were touring him around,
mm-hmm.
right? Is that is that connected to kind of the business model of fast lane travel, where you tour everyone around,
Yeah.
you have nice meals?
I mean, it's basically a similar business where you're a tour guide. And that's the same thing we're doing with the Porsche company, where we create these fantastic Porsche trips. And they're really two channels. One is where we have relationships with companies in Europe that rent Porsches, including the Porsche company itself. And there are two other companies where we rent Porsches from for our customers. And then the other business is we're handling the European delivery. So if you want to buy a Porsche but have it delivered in Stuttgart or Leipzig, for example, we handle that. So you go to your local dealer, you say, I want one of these, but I want it delivered in Stuttgart.
Yeah.
So then we arrange the flights, we lay out a route for you. Sometimes we have, like I have a group of Porsche enthusiasts from Miami. There are 6 of them with their wives, and they want me to put together a trip. And again, with my local knowledge and contacts,
Yeah.
I can do trips for them that they could never do on their own. Yeah.
So having such a tight-knit relationship with Ferry Porsche, you know, at the time the leader of Porsche, do you feel like there's something that you just kind of have to have with building these relationships? Is that something you either have or you don't?
Not necessarily, no. That was just fortuitous. I don't think it's something you have to have. It's just, you know, when you have a good idea to distribute somebody's product, you know, they're appreciated. And we kept track of sales, like the fact that we now have this fast lane travel program. A lot of people who never thought about picking up a car in Europe now said, wow. And the advantage is that our trips, typically we travel in groups of 6 or 7 with a guide in front. We're all connected with walkie-talkies. We publish a booklet, How to Drive in Europe. We also do driver's training, where we tell people what to do and what not to do. And by and large, driving in Europe is very different than driving in the US, especially in Germany and Austria and Switzerland. Some of the other countries also have certain peculiarities in how they drive.
Yeah. So I have to ask, so after you sold USTravel, you famously played golf for 20 minutes, right? You famously played golf for 20 minutes and then said, no, I don't want, this isn't for me, I'm not going to do this. And then you went back into fast lane travel. How did you know so quickly? And that sounds like such a funny story.
It's more a humorous story where now that I sold USTravel, and I was too young to retire, maybe I should have, and a friend of mine said, well, you know, why don't you play golf? Everybody plays golf when they retire. So I tried it, and I said, no, this is not for me. It's not fast enough. It's not enjoyable enough. So I don't want to insult any golfer. It's a wonderful sport, and I've played in some scrambles where, you know, 4 people play, and you always play the best ball of one of the 4 people. So, but anyways, I decided instead of golf, I want to continue Porsche trips, which it turns out to be was a good decision.
Yeah. So at this point, you've completed more than 50 years of fast lane travel.
Yes.
And you're in your 80s. So where's the future of the company? What do you see going forward?
Another excellent question. It's and thank you for not adding the words that you're not the youngest anymore. So the bottom line is that I have right now 5 different entities who are interested in merging, acquiring the company, and I'll be happy to sell the company and stay with it for another, you know, year or 2, or however long they want me, and make sure that the key components of the company, the relationships in Europe, the knowledge, the contacts we have with different legal entities like the police department in Italy and so on. It's incredibly valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've also said that you feel like you're 30, but with 50 years of experience.
Right.
Right. What does that 30-year-old self still refuse to try and let go of?
Well, letting go is not an issue. As long as I have a fantastic team behind me, and they certainly can run the company. And my title is CEO, which is Chief Entertainment Officer. Okay, so I'm also known for telling some really fun stories. And when we drive, for example, from, we're driving from Tuscany back to Austria. As we cross the mountains, I'm also a historian. I can tell you what happened right here in World War II, what happened when the Romans owned the place, and so on. And people really love not only the enjoyment of the driving, but the fact they know that when Caesar's armies were here, I'll give you an example. The Roman word for slave is servus, S-E-R-V-U-S. And the English derivation of service is from the Latin word servus. Okay, servitude, etc., is from the Latin word. In Austria, a common greeting, in Italy they say ciao, in Hawaii they say aloha, in Austria people say servus. It's the only country in the world where people call each other slaves, okay? Because the Romans used to call the locals, the moment they conquered a country, everybody was servus, okay? So servus, come here and shine my armor. The Austrians perhaps thought servus was a greeting. and until today, in Austria, servus is the ciao and hello and aloha. So in addition to driving, you also get quite a bit of a historic education, and I'm also known for an endless series of jokes.
Yeah. So, Peter, you arrived here with $14 in your pocket. You worked in steel mills. You built a company that scaled to $2.4 billion in sales.
Yes.
And sold it. And then you spent the next 50 years doing what you love, driving Porsches and making it a business.
Right.
Right. What advice do you have to someone my age who wants to build a life like that?
It's an excellent question. Key elements of starting a business is, number one, recognizing an opportunity, like I did with deregulation and saw the changes that were going on. Number two, you have to have a passion, all right? Number three, you have to develop relationships with people who will help you along the way, who can guide you in some element. Number four, you also need an education. I think a MBA, business education, is incredibly valuable. And number five, don't forget the people who helped you along the way. Like, I bought a house for my American mom when she needed one.
Yeah. Well, Peter, it's been a great interview so far. I've learned a lot. It's really a fascinating story you have. And I want to thank you so much for your time. And I think that's the end of this episode.
Greg, it was a pleasure. And I'm inviting you to come back anytime.
Yeah.
And perhaps at some point you might even want to come on a Porsche trip and see what it's like to deliver the product.
Yeah, absolutely. Look forward to it for sure. It sounds awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Peter.
Pleasure.
Pleasure. Thank you, everybody. Make sure to check out the next episode. And what a great one with Mr. Sontag here. Thank you.